Welcome back to part 5 of training muscle lengths, talking about triceps. The triceps have their name because, if you can guess, they have 3 heads. We've got the long head, the lateral head, which you can tell is lateral, and the medial head, which is sort of underneath both. Typically you'd see it on a cutaway figure. All 3 heads extend the elbow. That's the easy part that you probably already know. But if you take a peek up here, you'll see that the long head actually crosses the shoulder joint. So while the lateral and medial head only extend the elbow, the long head extends the elbow as well as extending the shoulder. The short and long positions for the lateral and medial head are very simple, because all they do is extend the elbow. When it's in a fully flexed position, like at the top of some sort of a rope or band push down, they're going to be fully stretched in their lengthened position. Same goes for any other movement with deep elbow flexion. Lateral and medial head fully shortened positions are super simple. If the elbow is fully extended, they're as short as they're going to get, unless you somehow hyperextended your elbow, which is not a good thing. The long head's a little bit different. Since it crosses the shoulder joint, even though there's deep elbow flexion right here, this is actually sort of the middle length of the long head. Because it both extends the elbow and the shoulder, we need both the elbow and shoulder to be fully flexed. This is the purpose of overhead tricep extension variations. You can see a flexed elbow and a flexed shoulder, so this is the lengthened position of the long head. You could achieve the same kind of thing with a dumbbell variation, although cables tend to be a little more joint friendly and likely a better stimulus overall. So if a flexed shoulder and elbow is the lengthened position for the long head, then an extended shoulder and elbow is the short position for the long head. It's even better if you can bring your shoulder into a little bit of hyperextension, which in this case means your hand would end up just slightly behind yourself. You'd either need a super long rope or 2 independent ropes to do that in this case. If you don't have access to cables, there's not a lot of great options for training the long head in its fully shortened position. Quick note that you can use bands to do the same thing, although it's hard to progress those over time. So one of the few free weight options to train the long head in its fully shortened position are kickback variations like you see below. Kickbacks can be very challenging for the long head of the tricep, but they're not the best movement to progress over time. Ultimately, the limiting factor here is your ability to keep that isometric shoulder extension. And when you take these near failure, you either have to select a light enough load that you can maintain that shoulder extension, otherwise you'll notice that you'll start to drop the shoulder before you really reach failure. Of course, I should mention that pressing does use all 3 heads of the tricep, but we'll talk a lot more about pressing variations when we get into the musculature of the chest as well as the shoulder. Check the Training Muscle Lengths playlist on the page to see other videos in this series. Leave a comment about what other muscles you'd like to learn about, and follow to learn more about the science of training.